Hello, it's Liam from Unique Cars and Parts, and I'm with Adrian at the Mad Max 2 Museum. And I came here thinking I was coming to the Mad Max Museum, 1, 2 and possibly 3, but it's specifically the Mad Max 2 Museum, and that's because Mad Max 2 was filmed around Broken Hill, wasn't it?
That's right, around Broken Hill and Silverton, yeah. So that's the only Mad Max movie to be shot here. The first film was shot around the west of Melbourne, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome was shot in Sydney and Coober Pedy, and also it's my favourite of all the Mad Max movies.
It's rare that one movie is better than its predecessor. I can only think of a handful. Aliens was better than Alien. Yes. Mad Max 2 was better than Mad Max.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in a way it's a matter of opinion. You do get your die-hard Mad Max 1 fans, but I think overall, Mad Max 2 was more received as a bigger film. I think they had a bigger budget as well. I think that's what helped as well.
Now, Adrian, I can detect an accent. Whereabouts are you from?
I'm from the north of England, Bradford, which is about 45 miles from Manchester.
Now, I've been to Bradford. I've done some work in Bradford. It's a very cosmopolitan, should I say, cosmopolitan part of England, a very Asian part of England.
Yes, it is. It's very diverse. Yes, it was originally Bradford was known for its textiles, very industrial. But I haven't been since I've been in Australia. I haven't been back in 14 years, so it could have changed quite a lot now. But yeah, it was a very industrial place.
And what brought you to Australia?
Well, I got to see Mad Max 1 and 2 as a double feature in 1982 when I was 18, and I was immediately hooked. And I had never visited Australia, so I came on holiday. This was in 2004. It was a long time afterwards. Came on holiday with the family to do the sights of the first film and this one. Absolutely fell in love with Broken Hill and Silverton, and decided that if I could, I would like to move here and do something really to pay homage to probably the biggest film that Australia's produced.
Yeah. Well, 1979 was Mad Max 1, and Mad Max 2 was?
Well, I saw it was released in 82 when I saw it, but it was actually had its premiere in 81, so it was made in 81, had its premiere at the end of the year in 81.
Well, wind the clock back to 1979, that was at Mad Max 1, 79. 1979, I had just met a girl. She was a Polish girl. Her name was Crusader, and I took her to the Clayton double feature drive-in, and I was trying to get into the pants there, Adrian, if you know what I mean. And we were watching some sort of chick flick, yes. And in the rearview mirror, there was this film playing in the background. Remember the scene where the car catapults through the caravan? Yes. Do you remember who that was?
That was in the car?
It was the Knight Rider, wasn't it?
Oh no, so that was the big bopper car. That was the two police officers, Roop and Charlie, who were chasing the Knight Rider.
Aha, okay. Well, I saw that scene in my rearview mirror. I didn't know about the Mad Max movie at all, but I thought I'm just going to put getting into the pants on hold for a few minutes. I did a U-turn, and we. Oh, I'm getting a signal from the wife about this. And we did a U-turn, and I went and watched the movie, the Mad Max movie, and I loved it. I loved it. I was so excited when I found out that they were making Mad Max 2. And so you've been out here, you've collected a few cars, well, more than a few. Yes. Your display here is absolutely bloody brilliant. A Crusader front end with seats.
You're absolutely right. Yes, I did remove the front end myself with a 9-inch grinder, yeah. And I just thought it would really come in handy for people, so people could sit down. Yeah.
But no Crusader was in the...
No Crusader. No, it has been mentioned to me on a few occasions that it's not a muscle car, but it was the best I could do at the time.
I've got a Mazda 626 out the front that might be good for your display.
We can remove the front on that as well if you wish.
Some of the roads we've been on this trip, it might just fall off by itself and then it'll be good to go. Okay, so we've got the display here. This motorbike we've got is...
Oh well, this is just a bike for the display, you know, just to add to the display, because there was only a couple of bikes in the film that was specific that people could actually relate to, like the Wes bike and the XS 1100 motorbike and sidecar. So we just have the random bikes here that just add to the display.
A Mack truck.
Yeah, they had the R600 in the film, which was a Mack truck. Yeah, which is. Yeah, also the Red XA, which was involved in one of the major stunts in the film. As well, yeah.
And you say that it says on the sign there that it's a Red XA, but it looks like an XB. Have they covered up the indicators to make it look a bit more like the original Interceptor?
Well, that's what they actually did with the Red XA in the film. They actually plated over where the indicators sit into the front guards, and also used an XB grille as well, probably to make it look a little bit more like the XB car.
Well, it fooled me. It's only till I saw the sign that said XA that I thought I was looking at XB. And you've got a Interceptor there.
Yes, well, I actually purchased that. The base car, which is actually an XA. I purchased that in, I think it was 2000, 2001, as a base car for the Interceptor. This was when I was still in the UK. So it took me 18 months to build into the car, and then we realised afterwards, after I'd finished the whole car, that we were actually going to move to Australia. So I had to put it back on a container and bring it back here. But yeah, the base car was actually purchased from a guy in Texas. So yeah, it was the first one I saw when we first got introduced to the internet, and it was the first one I saw, and it was at the right price. So I contacted him, and we did a deal over the phone, and it got shipped to the UK in 2001. Yeah,
and it's obviously a V8, and it's drivable. And in fact, all of the cars that we're looking at here are V8s, except for one.
Yes.
That is.
The one that's not a V8, that's actually the Fairlane. Now, that was actually a bit of a party trick car, the Fairlane, because originally the car was further down near where the inside display is, and we could start the car from the inside as a little bit of fun, just to frighten people, and the blue light would flash and that, but eventually over time we've had to move it over here. But no, the rest of them are the V8s, like the Landau.
The Landau's obviously a V8. I love the way it's got twin tyres on the back. Yes. That was from the film, and the caging over the wheels to give some sort of protection.
Yeah, they did that with quite a few of the vehicles. I think it gave it a more meaty and menacing look from the rear end, and of course adding the American bumpers, the Buick bumpers and the Pontiac bumpers and grills and things just gave it that extra bit of oomph.
And the spare tyre on the back, I mean, and the skull on the side and on the back where you'd put the key normally. They went to a lot of effort, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you actually study what they actually achieved, you know, and with the vehicles, but there was nothing that was over the top. I mean, everything that you saw in the vehicles was actually pretty much off-the-shelf items that they just added to the cars. They didn't really want to, even though it's a film that's supposed to be set in the future, it's not a futuristic film. They wanted actually everything to look as realistic as possible, and that everything, all the pieces had been kind of gathered and put together, and they just did what they could with the vehicles, you know.
And the Charger, that looks absolutely sensational. Force 10, I can't remember seeing that. Was that in the movie? It was known as Force 10?
Yeah, they used the Charger twice. It had the same colours but different paint when it originally slid into the back of the Chevy that dropped on the guy's legs in one of the scenes, and then they brought the car back and changed the actual design, but the same colours, and they put the Force 10 on the door. You didn't really see it doing much driving. When they were leaving the compound in the finale at the end of the film to escape, it actually got petrol bombed by the gyro captain, and it was burnt into it just burst into flames and just burnt into nothing. But yeah, some of the things in the films, some of the actual paintings and things that were done on the vehicles, you kind of had to have a second look. If you know, initially when you're just watching a film, you're just watching all the action and everything else, but then when you watch them again and you start to study what they actually did with the vehicles, you'll see these little details like the Force 10.
I'm going to have to watch it again. I have to watch it again so that I can see that this car makes a double billing. Only in different livery.
That's right, yes, yeah. You'll see it's got the same paint, but when it was originally used, you'll see that the red stripe was actually down the side of it. So.
Okay. And we've got the Landau, absolutely sensational looking vehicle, as we mentioned. The Fairlane, the only 6-cylinder job. And the one I was interested in here is a Valiant. Now, I could pick that from the look of the side, the rear view mirror and the door handles was a bit of a giveaway. But the front is anything but Valiant. In fact, it's got a Pontiac symbol on the front.
Yes. Yeah, the bonnet they used and the grille that they used was actually from a 1966 Pontiac Catalina, which looks absolutely incredible. I mean, it's a custom-made chin spoiler on the front, which is a little bit dangerous because it's quite pointy, but I think it just set the whole car off, and it was I think it was pretty lucky that the bonnet and the grille actually did fit pretty well into place.
If Chrysler had made these, they would have sold by the bucket load, because that just looks so much better than how they originally come off the factory floor, in my humble opinion.
Yes, maybe the die-hard Chrysler or Valiant fans may not think so, but I think it actually just really sets the front of the car alight. It really just it's really good.
And to my mind, as much as I love the cars, and then there's another Interceptor down. We'll touch on that Interceptor. You got two.
Yes, well, as you saw, the top one is the one that I actually built back in the UK. This one actually came up for sale. This was I think it's about 11, 12 years ago when I purchased this. We'd only just moved into Silverton. And this was actually built by a person down in Victoria that actually built them as a as a living, really, actually put interceptors together. But it was actually built for Emil Minty, who played the Ferro Kid. It was actually built for him to have a little bit of fun in, and I think at some point he wanted to register the car for the road, but of course with a car like that you couldn't legally register, so eventually...
I'm guessing because the supercharger on top would have made visibility almost...
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I've talked to the police about the legal side of being able to drive these cars, their main concern wasn't so much visibility, even though it's difficult when you turn in left corners to see where you're going. It was actually about the impact if you actually hit somebody, or if you actually had an accident, and I think I can see why. I mean, if you were to hit somebody, I think if they were to land on that, then they'd probably do a little bit of damage. But of course, but
that's the whole point of it, was hitting pedestrians in the movie. I mean, that's they weren't pedestrians, but
yeah. But also, I mean, same with the rear. You see, the rear window's been removed with the tanks in the back, and of course, you're not allowed to really have exhaust pipes that where they're mounted on the side of the car as well, because they're supposed to be beyond the furthest opening of the vehicle. I suppose from state to state in Australia the laws will differ, but it is really, there's a real grey area, I think, as well with registering some of these vehicles. But eventually the car came to. I was contacted and I was really interested in the car because it's actually based on the double car. So they had two in the film. They had the original Interceptor that eventually now has gone over to the States. It's been to a few places first, but the double car was actually rolled and wrecked in the film. And the actual wreckage of the car belongs to somebody in Broken Hill that actually worked on the film. But that's what that car was actually based on, the double car.
Okay.
But that's actually got a 351 in it, top load, and it's also got a Detroit 9-inch locker diff in the back. And it
is drivable, not road registerable, but drivable.
Yep, they're all drivable.
All of these cars.
Yes. Even the kangaroo buggy as well, that's a runner as well, but I don't think we'd get that registered. I don't think so.
I think you'd struggle. And what I think, to my mind, is the piece de resistance, because, I mean, that opening scene in Mad Max 2, well, near the opening scene, when you see Bruce Spence flying around in the gyrocopter, and I looked at the sign, I thought, well, that is a really, really good mock-up, but I'm not looking at a mock-up, am I?
No, well, excuse me. Well, some of the parts that we've had to add to it because they were missing. But basically, all the main parts were still there, and they'd been in Broken Hill for many years. I mean, a lot of the stuff, there's bits and pieces that we've had to make up ourselves, and same with the prop at the back, that's not the original, but you got the original engine there, seats, tanks and things, and stabiliser bars, blades, all that kind of thing there was still there. Because it did get damaged when it was actually dropped for the scene where he crashes. So some of it got damaged, but we were lucky to actually be given the parts that still survived and be able to put it back together. So it looks exactly like it did in the film now.
And this thing actually flies.
Well, probably not now.
Not now, but back then in the movie.
Yes, yeah, this was the actual...
It wouldn't have been Bruce that was actually flying. It would have been a stunt pilot of some sort, I guess.
Well, actually, no, that was actually a guy called Jerry Goodwin, who was an auto-gyro pilot, but he was a specialist in building gyrocopters, and he was contracted to build two for the film. The one that he would fly in the film, and the other one that actually did work as well, but that's the one that you see Bruce on, and that was filmed onto the back of a truck. It was simulated motion, but no, Jerry flew it, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he only crashed it once in the film.
And then they did the other one deliberately.
And then they did the other crash deliberately. The end.
And are these fuel tanks underneath?
Those are the original fuel tanks.
That was how they got the fuel to the engine.
That's right.
And what, do you know what sort of engine that is?
That's from a VW Beetle, Volkswagen.
A Beetle makes an appearance in Mad Max 2. Hang on, there were buggies that had Beetle buggies, weren't there?
All the buggies you see in Mad Max 2 were all based on the VWs. Yes.
Well, we were at the Peterstown Steam Museum. Peterborough Steam Museum, and they've got some old diesel locomotives there. And after World War II, some of the engines were from German U-boats, and the English got hold of these engines and stuck them in. So it's amazing where engines can end up. But that's a Volkswagen engine. Right. And then this is my favourite exhibit, the Interceptor, obviously. Okay, we'll make this one the last one. But needless to say, there's a lot more. There's buggies and all sorts of things over here, and another huge exhibit out there with a lot. What's in there? All of the what do you call all those? All the oddments that people used?
Yeah, I suppose you could say all the smaller props and costume pieces and small paraphernalia that was used in the film.
And there must be a couple of thousand bits in there.
Do you know, I've never counted, but I think you'd be right. So I've never counted, but
There's a huge amount, and that is no photography allowed, but is well worth having a look at just for that section. And then I saw the daughter come out here and have a look at these. Lastly, we've got the Interceptor tow car. Where did this one feature?
Now, this, I suppose you could have called this the compound utility vehicle. This is the vehicle that they use in the compound to move things around, and you see it in the scene where Max has been captured, when he actually goes to the compound and they actually capture him, and they use this car to pull his interceptor in from the outside of the compound. It's actually based on an Austin A40. Which, believe it or not, yes, it's an old Austin A40, and they actually put the twin wheels on the back, I suppose, because they were into twin wheels and of course for better grip. But that down there is a scene from the film as well, and you can see it, and that's just towing the interceptor into the compound. But
okay, so Austin A40, but I'm guessing not Austin A40 mechanicals.
I believe it's a Nissan engine that's in it. I believe it isn't something like a Nissan 1100 or 1300 or something. Yeah.
The number of old Austins I've seen that have been repowered by Holden engines, but this one's got a Nissan.
It looks to me like it's an old Nissan engine, a very small 4-cylinder Nissan. Yes, yeah, which would have been perfect for what they wanted anyway, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, Adrian, it's been fantastic. Are we allowed to shake hands in this coronavirus time? But we're going to.
I think we're all good.
We're good out here. Sorry, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. Oh, bloody hell. I messed that up. Oh. Well, look, it's been fantastic. What a great experience it's been. I've thoroughly enjoyed. Well worth the trip out to Silverton. Come out to Broken. We were heading back to Melbourne from the Flinders Ranges, and I said we've got to go via Broken Hill to get out and have a look at your museum. And I've got to say, well worth it. Way better than I thought.
Thank you.
Get yourselves out here. It is fantastic, and good on you for coming out from England and setting something like this up for us to enjoy for future generations. Well done, mate.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks a lot for that. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Beauty. Thank you. I'm sorry about the handshake.
No, it's all good. You know.